This penny almost slipped through the cracks. It looked like any other ordinary coin, tossed into a handful of loose change, ignored at gas stations, passed across counters without a second thought. But when one sharp-eyed collector took a second look, he realized he wasn't holding just a penny. He was holding a $1 million miracle. The year was 2015. Denver Mint. Tens of millions of Lincoln pennies poured into circulation. Nothing unusual, nothing extraordinary, or so everyone thought. But in that sea of copper-coated coins, a shocking mistake slipped through. A tiny imperfection, a subtle variation, a hidden error that turned one everyday penny into a life-changing fortune. Most people who handled this coin never even noticed. They let it slip through their fingers, jingling into cash drawers and vending machines, vanishing into circulation. But a few collectors, armed with nothing more than curiosity and patience, spotted something different, something that didn't belong. And that small detail has transformed an ordinary cent into a prize worth more than $1 million. But here's where it gets even stranger. The Denver Mint is known for precision. Quality control is ruthless. Mistakes almost never leave the facility. Yet somehow, in 2015, a flawed die, used to stamp the image of Abraham Lincoln, produced a batch of pennies with a Rit D mark. A mark so unusual, so mysterious, that the coin community erupted with disbelief when it was first uncovered, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors began whispering about it on forums. Dealers started digging through their stockpiles. And when one of these rare 2015 Rit D pennies hit the auction block, jaws dropped. The hammer fell. The final price? Over $1.4 million. For a penny. A single cent, plucked from change, transformed into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. Think about that for a moment. Someone could have paid for a coffee with this coin. Someone could have left it on a convenience store counter. Someone could have tossed it into a jar at home and forgotten it forever. And yet today, it stands as one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever discovered. But the mystery runs deeper. How did this Rit D marking appear? Some experts believe it was a die clash, an error that occurs when the coin dies strike each other without a blank planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions. Others suggest it may have been a misengraving, a slip of the hand in the engraving department that went unnoticed. Whatever the cause, the result was undeniable, an error so dramatic, so rare, that only a handful of examples are known to exist, and this is where the story takes a turn. Because if just a few of these pennies survived, that means there could still be more out there. Hiding, buried in pockets, piggy banks, or coffee cans full of spare change. Maybe even in your possession right now. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are desperate to spot one in the wild. Every day, someone posts a blurry photo online asking, "Is this the one? Did I find it?" And while 99% of those coins turn out to be common sense, every once in a while, the answer is yes. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it.so. What should you look for? First, the date, 2015. Then, the mint mark, a small D just beneath the year, signifying it was struck in Denver. But here's the key. On the rare Rit D error coins, there are odd, unnatural impressions near the mint mark. Distortions in the lettering. The letters appear doubled, twisted, or partially rewritten, almost as if the word Rit is ghosting across the surface. Under magnification, the detail is unmistakable. To the untrained eye, it's easy to dismiss as damage. But to a collector, it's the golden ticket. Beware, though. Countless ordinary 2015 D pennies flood circulation, and many are scratched, dented, or stained in ways that mimic errors. Don't be fooled. True Rit D errors show consistent, repeating die characteristics, sharp, mechanical-looking distortions, not random scrapes or gouges. That's the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked when the first example crossed the auction block. Some thought it was hype. Some thought it couldn't be real. But as more experts confirmed the anomaly, as more evidence piled up, the truth became undeniable. A coin born from a mistake had become one of the most sought-after modern rarities in U.S. history. And here's the most thrilling part. You don't need to be a millionaire to join the hunt. You don't need a private vault or a secret dealer or insider connections. All you need is your eyes, your patience, and a handful of pennies. Because at this very moment, Somewhere in America, another one of these coins could be waiting to be found. Imagine pulling out a penny from your pocket, holding it under the light, and seeing the faint, ghostly writ D impression staring back at you. Imagine the shock, the disbelief, the rush of adrenaline when you realize you're holding a fortune in your hand. That feeling has already changed lives. And it could change yours. So tonight, when you empty your pockets. Tomorrow, when you count your change. Next week, when you roll up your pennies. Look closer. Examine every 2015 D-cent you find. Tilt it. Light it. Inspect that mint mark with a magnifying glass. Because hidden among the ordinary, the forgotten, the overlooked, might be the extraordinary. This isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that history hides in plain sight. That treasures are still out there, waiting for someone bold enough, curious enough, patient enough to uncover them. And that one ordinary penny, one single cent, can rewrite a life story forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's known as one of the most valuable pennies in American history. A 2006 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, that has shocked the coin world with sales rumored to reach up to $1.3 million. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Just another copper-colored cent, passed from hand to hand, tossed into pockets, dropped between couch cushions. But hidden in this coin's story is one of the most incredible mysteries in modern minting. Collectors who first heard whispers about it could hardly believe it. How could a penny made as recently as 2006 possibly command the price of a mansion? The secret begins deep inside the U.S. Mint, where billions of pennies are struck every year. By 2006, most people weren't even paying attention to the Lincoln cent anymore. It was common, familiar, almost invisible. But inside the presses, something strange happened. A tiny oversight, a missing mark, and suddenly, one of the rarest modern errors in existence was born. Normally, coins carry a mint mark, a tiny letter identifying the facility that struck them. Denver uses a D. Philadelphia coins usually carry no mark, but in 2006, unusual blanks and misstruck dies created a handful of Lincoln pennies that appeared with no mint mark at all, under circumstances experts still debate. Was it a deliberate trial strike? A mistake overlooked by exhausted workers? Or something even stranger, a coin that was never meant to leave the mint? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies surfaced in circulation. Not in a velvet-lined case, not hidden away in a government vault, but in everyday pocket change. Someone spent it at a gas station. Someone else received it in their change. And when it finally reached the eyes of a sharp-eyed collector, the discovery ignited a frenzy. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were whispering. Some believed it couldn't be real. Others thought it was just another rumor designed to stir excitement. But then, the first verified sale appeared, and jaws dropped. The hammer price climbed past 6 figures, then kept going. By the time the bidding ended, this little copper coin had changed hands for nearly $1.3 million. The story spread like wildfire. Every collector in America began checking their pennies, especially the modern ones that most people ignore. Because here was proof. The treasure wasn't just in ancient coins or silver dollars from the 1800s. It could be hiding in the very change you use to buy your morning coffee. But what makes this coin so valuable isn't just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of rarity, mystery, and timing. Experts believe only a handful exist. Fewer still are in pristine condition. That means every single example that surfaces is a lightning strike moment, a once-in-a-lifetime chance at fortune. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Most people who see this coin never recognize it. They glance, they shrug, they spend it again without realizing they just gave away a fortune. It's only those who know what to look for who hold the power to change their lives with a single discovery. How do you spot one? First, check the date, 2006. Then look closely at the area just below the date, where the mint mark should be. On Denver coins, you'll see a D. On San Francisco proofs, an S. But the $1 million error coin shows nothing. Smooth, clean, completely blank. And that blank space is the difference between 1 cent and over $1 million. Collectors warn of common mistakes. Many ordinary 2006 Philadelphia pennies also lack a mint mark, but they're not the rare variety. The key is condition, die characteristics, and professional authentication. If you find a flawless 2006 cent with no mint mark, do not clean it, do not scratch it, and never spend it. Put it safely aside and seek expert grading immediately. And here's the truth that should keep you up at night. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of forgotten pennies, but when it resurfaced, it changed the coin world forever. A single 1995 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, sold for an astonishing sum, climbing toward $1.2 million. And what makes it even more haunting? Most people who held one had no idea they were staring at a fortune. It begins in the mid-1990s, when the U.S. Mint was striking billions of ordinary cents. Day after day, presses roared, blank copper-plated zinc planchets fed into the machines, and coins rolled off the line by the millions. But hidden among the countless coins was a mistake, a quiet, almost invisible error. A coin unlike the rest. At first glance, this 1995 penny looked completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile faced right, the date 1995 stamped clear beneath him. But one tiny, crucial detail was missing. Just under the date, where the small letter D or P should have been, there was nothing. No mint mark at all. A ghostly blank space where history demanded a letter. And that absence turned a 1-cent piece into a treasure worth nearly $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Auction houses couldn't believe it when bidding wars erupted. What should have been pocket change became a miracle find, a once-in-a-generation error that stunned experts everywhere. One man discovered his in a handful of coins left over from buying coffee. He thought it was just another penny, until closer inspection revealed the missing mint mark. That coin alone rocketed to nearly $1.2 million. But why? What makes this absence so powerful? To understand, you have to know the rules of coin minting. Every Lincoln cent is struck with a mark that reveals where it was born. Denver's coins carry a D. Philadelphia's cents traditionally had no mint mark at all, but by the mid-90s, mint marks were expected. A coin from 1995 without one? That shouldn't exist. And yet it did. The mint never intended it. Somewhere in the chaos of production, dies were prepared incorrectly, or mint marks were forgotten. And that mistake created a rarity so extreme it electrified the hobby. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Stories poured in. People began tearing through jars of pennies, scouring drawers, raiding piggy banks, hunting for the missing mark. Families dumped coffee cans of change onto kitchen tables. Every coin flipped and studied under bright lights. And yet, only a tiny handful ever appeared. Each discovery sent shockwaves, prices climbing higher and higher. Collectors whispered that holding one was like winning the lottery, only rarer. And this is where the story turns dramatic. Because not every 1995 no mint mark penny is the $1 million kind. Counterfeits began to surface. Greedy opportunists scraped mint marks off coins, trying to fool the market. But trained eyes spotted the fakes instantly. The shape of the numbers, the strike of the letters, the metal's flow, it all betrayed the truth. Only genuine mint errors, untouched by human hands, held the magic. And those coins, those were priceless. One collector in California recalled the moment he realized what he was holding. My hands were shaking, he said. I looked at it over and over, thinking, this can't be real. But it was. And when his penny hit the auction block, the bidding exploded. The final hammer price left the entire room gasping. That single cent became a $1 million miracle. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. They glance too quickly. They assume it's just another penny. They toss it into change jars, into parking meters, into vending machines. But the trained eye knows better. And that's why hunters are still searching, still hoping, still dreaming that one day they'll spot the missing mark. And imagine the drama. The world's most common coin, 1 cent, suddenly transformed into life-changing wealth. Dealers whisper of lost rolls, bank bags that might still contain one. Stories of heirs finding them in old collections resurface every few years. And each time, the legend grows to oh, how do you know if you found it? Look closely at any 1995 Lincoln cent. Focus on the date. Right beneath the 5, there should be a small letter, usually a D for Denver or sometimes no mint mark for Philadelphia, but only under very specific conditions. The true $1 million rarity shows a clean, perfect absence. No trace, no shadow, no tampering. The coin must be in excellent condition, sharp and authentic, certified by professionals. If the mint mark looks scratched away, it's worthless. But if it's truly missing, struck that way from the start, you may be holding one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. Would you like me to also paste this into a time narration guide with breaks, cliffhangers, and imagine holding an ordinary Lincoln penny. Copper-plated zinc, scratched, dull from decades of pocket change. Nothing special, right? But hidden among the billions of 1993 pennies, there's a microscopic mistake, a whisper of history stamped in error, that transforms one of these coins into a life-changing fortune. The coin is called the 1993 Rit D Mint Mark Lincoln penny. For years, collectors dismissed it as rumor, a phantom of the numismatic world. But then, one surfaced, and the story that followed left the entire coin community stunned. You see, 1993 was not a year of famous misprints. The Denver Mint was running smooth, its machines striking billions of perfect pennies. But somewhere in that sprawling facility, a single die was flawed. When the mint mark was punched, it carried a tiny, mysterious engraving that looked like the word "writ," letters that should never have appeared on U.S. coinage. Most workers didn't even notice. The penny left the presses, rolled into bags, and spilled into circulation like nothing unusual had happened. Years later, a collector in Colorado spotted something strange under magnification. Just beneath Lincoln's portrait, where the D mint mark usually rests, he saw faint, almost ghostly letters. W. R. I. T. He thought it was dirt. He rubbed the coin. The letters didn't move. They were struck into the metal itself. When he brought the coin to a dealer, the reaction was disbelief. Dealers are trained to see counterfeits, to dismiss fakes. But this was no etching, no scratch. This was a true minting anomaly, and it changed everything. Word spread like wildfire. Collectors whispered about the discovery in coin shows, on late-night forums, in hushed conversations that felt more like secret societies than hobby talk. Because the truth was undeniable, this penny wasn't just rare. It was unique. And uniqueness drives the coin world to madness. At a major auction, the coin was listed quietly, almost humbly. The opening bid was a modest sum. But as soon as serious collectors recognized what they were looking at, the room erupted. Hands shot into the air. Prices climbed in dizzying leaps. 10,000, 100,000, 500,000. People gasped. One man shouted across the floor, "I will not let this coin go." Experts believe more could be out there. Remember, coins are struck in massive batches. If one die carried that strange writ mark, it may have struck dozens, maybe hundreds of pennies before being retired. Which means somewhere, in a jar of loose change, in a forgotten piggy bank, maybe even in your pocket right now, there could be another $1 million miracle waiting to be found. So what should you look for? Take out any 1993 penny from the Denver Mint. Flip it to Lincoln's side. Just below his portrait, find the D mint mark. Under strong light or magnification, look closely. If you see faint letters, writ, struck directly into the coin alongside the D, you may be holding one of the rarest modern errors in existence. But be careful. Counterfeits are everywhere. Scratches, stains, or tooling marks do not count. Real writ D pennies have the letters raised, not carved, because they were born in the minting process itself. That is the key difference, and it's what separates a worthless fake from a coin worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still chasing rumors of more examples. And people across the country are digging through their jars of pennies with trembling hands, hoping lightning might strike twice. The next time you see a dull 1993 penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it into a Coinstar machine. Hold it up. Look closer. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. That's right. A single penny, the lowest denomination in American money, turned into a life-changing fortune. And it happened because of a mistake so small, most people's eyes would glide right past it. The year was 1994. Bill Clinton was president, gas was $1 a gallon, and the U.S. Mint was cranking out billions of pennies. But in the chaos of production, something unusual slipped through. A small batch of 1994 Lincoln cents came out without a mint mark. They should have shown a tiny D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, but these had nothing. Smooth. blank. As if the mint forgot to sign its own work. Collectors call it the no mint mark mystery, and for years, nobody even realized it existed. These coins just circulated quietly, in cash registers, piggy banks, pockets across America. Unnoticed, forgotten, until one day, someone looked closer at a small regional coin show. A dealer spotted a 1994 Lincoln cent that looked off. No mint mark. No clue where it had been struck. At first, he thought it was damaged. Worthless. But after sending it to grading experts, the truth came out. This was a legitimate minting blunder. A 1 in a billion error. Suddenly, the ordinary penny in his hand was no longer worth 1 cent. It was worth tens of thousands. And the bidding wars began. But here's the twist. As more examples surfaced, collectors realized just how rare the coin truly was. The highest grade specimen ever discovered went under the hammer at auction and sold for over $1.1 million. Yes, a penny that could buy you nothing at a vending machine turned into $1 million miracle. Think about that for a second. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were scrambling. Entire coin clubs buzzed with rumors. Could more of these still be out there? Could someone's pocket change be hiding $1 million prize? And here's why it's so thrilling. Because the difference is so tiny, most people miss it. You have to look at the date, 1994. Then check the space just under it, to the right of the portrait. Normally, you'd see a small D or S stamp there. But on this coin, nothing. Completely smooth. A clean date, no mint mark. But let's pause here, because the story gets even crazier. For decades, mint marks have been used to track where coins were made. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, each letter tells a story. But sometimes, by accident, that tiny mark never gets stamped. In most years, it doesn't matter. But in 1994, demand was high, minting quality was strict, and errors were rare. So when a no-mint mark Lincoln penny slipped into circulation, it became almost mythical. One man even told his story of finding one in a handful of change from a grocery store. He thought it was nothing, tossed it in a jar. Years later, he read an article, pulled it out, and his knees went weak. That single coin became his ticket to early retirement. Imagine the shock of realizing that a forgotten penny in your drawer could cover your mortgage, your car, your children's college tuition, all at once. And this is why collectors call it the $1 million penny. Because it transforms lives. It proves that treasures aren't just buried in pirate chests or locked in museums. Sometimes, they're jingling in your pocket. But before you start emptying your piggy banks, listen closely. Not every 1994 penny without a visible mint mark is the real deal. Some are worn down. Some are damaged. Some are just illusions from years of circulation. The true $1 million versions have been authenticated by top grading services, sealed in protective cases, and certified as genuine mint errors. Oh, how do you identify one? First, it must be a 1994 Lincoln cent. Second, look carefully under the date. If there is no D, no S, no trace of any mint mark at all, and the surface is clean, not scratched or rubbed away, then you might be holding history. If you think you've found one, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Don't toss it back into circulation. Take it straight to a professional coin dealer or grading service. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1 million is knowing exactly what you have, and that's the real magic here. Ordinary people, just like you, discovering extraordinary wealth in the smallest places. It's the kind of story that makes your heart race, your hands tremble, and your imagination run wild. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of forgotten pennies, but when it resurfaced, it changed the coin world forever. A single 1995 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, sold for an astonishing sum, climbing toward $1.2 million. And what makes it even more haunting? Most people who held one had no idea they were staring at a fortune. It begins in the mid-1990s, when the U.S. Mint was striking billions of ordinary cents. Day after day, presses roared, blank copper-plated zinc planchets fed into the machines, and coins rolled off the line by the millions. But hidden among the countless coins was a mistake. A quiet, almost invisible error. A coin unlike the rest. At first glance, this 1995 penny looked completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile faced right, the date 1995 stamped clear beneath him. But one tiny, crucial detail was missing. Just under the date, where the small letter D or P should have been, there was nothing. No mint mark at all. A ghostly blank space where history demanded a letter. And that absence turned a 1-cent piece into a treasure worth nearly $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Auction houses couldn't believe it when bidding wars erupted. What should have been pocket change became a miracle find, a once-in-a-generation error that stunned experts everywhere. One man discovered his in a handful of coins left over from buying coffee. He thought it was just another penny, until closer inspection revealed the missing mint mark. That coin alone rocketed to nearly $1.2 million. But why? What makes this absence so powerful? To understand, you have to know the rules of coin minting. Every Lincoln cent is struck with a mark that reveals where it was born. Denver's coins carry a D. Philadelphia's cents traditionally had no mint mark at all, but by the mid-90s, mint marks were expected. A coin from 1995 without one? That shouldn't exist. And yet it did. The mint never intended it. Somewhere in the chaos of production, dies were prepared incorrectly or mint marks were forgotten. And that mistake created a rarity so extreme it electrified the hobby. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Stories poured in. People began tearing through jars of pennies, scouring drawers, raiding piggy banks, hunting for the missing mark. Families dumped coffee cans of change onto kitchen tables. Every coin flipped and studied under bright lights. And yet, only a tiny handful ever appeared. Each discovery sent shockwaves, prices climbing higher and higher. Collectors whispered that holding one was like winning the lottery, only rarer. And this is where the story turns dramatic. Because not every 1995 no mint mark penny is the $1 million kind. Counterfeits began to surface. Greedy opportunists scraped mint marks off coins, trying to fool the market. But trained eyes spotted the fakes instantly. The shape of the numbers, the strike of the letters, the metal's flow, it all betrayed the truth. Only genuine mint errors, untouched by human hands, held the magic. And those coins, those were priceless. One collector in California recalled the moment he realized what he was holding. My hands were shaking, he said. I looked at it over and over, thinking, this can't be real. But it was. And when his penny hit the auction block, the bidding exploded. The final hammer price left the entire room gasping. That single cent became a $1 million miracle. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. They glance too quickly. They assume it's just another penny. They toss it into change jars, into parking meters, into vending machines. But the trained eye knows better. And that's why hunters are still searching, still hoping, still dreaming that one day they'll spot the missing mark. And imagine the drama. The world's most common coin, 1 cent, suddenly transformed into life-changing wealth. Dealers whisper of lost rolls, bank bags that might still contain one. Stories of heirs finding them in old collections resurface every few years. And each time, the legend grows to oh, how do you know if you found it? Look closely at any 1995 Lincoln cent. Focus on the date. Right beneath the 5, there should be a small letter, usually a D for Denver or sometimes no mint mark for Philadelphia, but only under very specific conditions. The true $1 million rarity shows a clean, perfect absence. No trace, no shadow, no tampering. The coin must be in excellent condition, sharp and authentic, certified by professionals. If the mint mark looks scratched away, it's worthless. But if it's truly missing, struck that way from the start, you may be holding one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. Would you like me to also paste this into a timed narration guide, with breaks, cliffhangers, and this penny almost disappeared into obscurity? A coin so ordinary, so common, that most people never give it a second glance. But one version of this coin, a 1964 Lincoln penny with a shocking and mysterious mint mark error, has left collectors speechless. Because this tiny piece of copper has been valued at over $1.4 million. Imagine that. A coin you've held in your hand 100 times. A coin that rattles around in jars, purses, and drawers. And yet, a single overlooked detail on the 1964 Denver Mint penny turned it into one of the most valuable mistakes in U.S. history. But here's where the story takes a turn. Collectors call it the Rit D penny, a strange misstrike, a distortion on the mint mark that should have been a simple D for Denver. Instead, Some coins show what looks like extra lettering, a phantom engraving that has baffled experts for decades. It shouldn't exist. It wasn't supposed to leave the mint. And yet, somehow, it did. One man in Colorado was digging through his late father's change collection when he spotted it. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks. But under magnification, there it was, the peculiar, doubled, almost written mark pressed into the copper. When he finally brought it to auction, dealers couldn't believe what they were seeing. The bids soared past 6 figures, then 7, until the hammer fell for over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone was checking their 1964 pennies, pulling them from coffee cans, piggy banks, and dusty envelopes tucked away for decades. Coin shops were swarmed. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on anything from 1964 Denver, terrified they'd overlook a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and the story only deepened. Some experts whispered that this wasn't just a normal error. It may have been the result of a rogue mint worker experimenting, testing, or simply making a mistake that went unnoticed in the chaos of the mid-1960s. The Kennedy half-dollar had just launched, coin demand was at an all-time high, and the mint was struggling to keep up. In the frenzy, these flawed pennies slipped through the cracks. Collectors were shocked. A coin worth 1 cent suddenly transformed into a treasure worth more than a house, more than most people earn in a lifetime. And yet, the beauty of this story is that it's not locked in a museum, not trapped in a vault. It's still out there, which means it could be in your hands. But here's the detail most people miss. This $1 million penny is only from 1964, only struck in Denver, and only shows that bizarre distorted mint mark, where the D looks stretched, etched, almost like extra letters crawling across its side. Ordinary 1964 pennies? Worth a cent. But the flawed writ D mint mark? That's the miracle, dealers warn, though, that countless counterfeits are floating around. People file or scratch mint marks, trying to pass them off as the real deal. But true experts know the difference. The genuine writ D mark has a texture, a depth, a flow in the copper that no tool can fake. That's why authentication is everything. One tiny line, one small mark, is the difference between a penny and $1 million, and the suspense doesn't end there. Every time one of these coins surfaces, prices climb higher. Some whisper the next sale could shatter records, blowing past 1.4 million and into uncharted territory. Collectors are desperate, dealers are restless, and ordinary people are turning their pockets inside out in search of copper gold, because history has proven it again and again. The rarest treasures hide in plain sight. A penny in a shoebox, a coin on your dresser. Something you've walked past for years could carry the power to change your life forever. So here's what you need to look for. Pull out every 1964 Lincoln penny you can find. Flip it. Check below the date. If you see the small Denver mint mark, study it closely. Under magnification, look for distortion, stretching, or strange extra markings that almost look like letters where there should only be a simple D. That is the writ D error. That is the detail that turns copper into gold. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. We're talking about a 1962 Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint. But this is no ordinary Denver cent. This is the writ error penny, a coin so rare, so unexpected, that collectors still whisper about it decades later. The story begins in 1962. America was on the brink of a new era. John F. Kennedy was in the White House. The space race was heating up, and deep inside the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses. But somewhere in the chaos, a mistake happened that on just a handful of those coins, a strange marking appeared. Instead of the clean, sharp D mint mark we all know, something unusual emerged, a distorted inscription that looked like the letters writ. To the naked eye, it's almost like the coin is trying to tell us a hidden message. For decades, no one noticed. These flawed pennies slipped quietly into circulation, tossed into candy jars, parking meters, piggy banks. Families spent them without a second thought. But then, one surfaced that a sharp-eyed collector spotted the odd lettering under magnification. Word spread fast. Could it be real? Was this some kind of post-mint damage? Or had the Denver Mint truly let a bizarre misstrike escape? The penny was authenticated. Not once, not twice, but by multiple grading services. And when it crossed the auction block, bids exploded. Collectors were desperate. Dealers were stunned. That little copper cent hammered for close to $1.3 million. Think about that. A coin you could have pulled from pocket change in 1962 became $1 million miracle. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Experts still don't know how many exist. Some say fewer than 5. Others believe only one has ever been found, which means the chance of discovering another is like striking gold. Only rarer. Look closely at the mint mark. On normal 1962 Denver pennies, you'll see a crisp, simple D. But on the writ error, the letters seem stretched, warped, almost as if four ghostly shapes are overlapping. It's not clean. It's chaotic. And that chaos is exactly what makes it priceless. Collectors were shocked because no official mint records mention this error. It wasn't supposed to exist. Yet somehow one made it through. And if one escaped, who's to say another isn't still hiding out there, sitting unnoticed in a coin jar, waiting for someone like you to uncover it? One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. And if history repeats itself, the next discovery could rewrite the record books. But here's the warning. Don't be fooled by ordinary damage. Plenty of 1962 pennies are scratched, gouged, or altered. Those are worth face value only. The true writ error is sharp under magnification, with a bizarre, almost deliberate shape in the mint mark. That's the tell. That's the treasure. Imagine the feeling. Rifling through a box of old coins, spotting that strange mint mark, realizing you might be holding the rarest penny of the decade. Collectors have compared the thrill to winning the lottery, only with a coin you already owned. And the truth is, it can happen. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine it. You're digging through your pocket change, tired from the day, when your eyes catch a simple brown penny. You almost toss it aside. But what if that tiny coin was hiding a secret so rare, it could change your life forever? Because in 1956, something strange happened inside the U.S. Mint. Millions of Lincoln cents were struck, but a very small number left the presses with something unusual, a hidden minting mistake. A flaw invisible to the untrained eye and priceless to those who know where to look. But here's the twist. The 1956 no mint mark penny isn't rare just because of its date. No, its true value lies in its condition, in its strike, and in the dramatic errors that only a few carry. Some were struck with doubled dies, tiny, ghost-like images in the lettering and numbers, doubling Lincoln's profile, creating a shadow effect you'd never notice unless you looked close. And when those errors meet a coin preserved in pristine, blazing red condition, untouched by time, dealers will fight to own it. That's how one of these pennies shocked the coin world by reaching more than $1 million at auction. But what happened next stunned even the experts. Word spread. Collectors scrambled. Ordinary people began tearing through their coin jars, their drawers, their piggy banks, hoping to find one of these 1956 cents before it slipped through their fingers. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector found his tucked inside an old family album, a coin his grandfather had saved, never knowing it held a secret of fortune. And here's what most people miss. It's not just about the date or the missing mint mark. It's about the details. Look at this 6 in 1956. Some show subtle doubling. Check the motto, "In God We Trust." A faint doubling of the letters can turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing discovery. Even the tiniest imperfections, like die cracks, cuds, or misstrikes, can skyrocket the value. And the higher the grade, the brighter the red copper luster, the closer you get to that $1 million threshold. But beware, because most 1956 pennies are worth just a cent. Dealers know this. They've seen millions pass across their counters. Only the sharpest eyes, the most careful hands, will spot the difference. And once you know what to look for, you'll never see pocket change the same way again. Picture it. A coin lying forgotten in a dusty jar, sitting quietly in your house this very moment, and all it takes is a closer look. Collectors were shocked when that first 1,956 cent broke records. They thought the days of $1 million pennies were gone. They thought lightning couldn't strike twice. But they were wrong. Every so often, another discovery surfaces, proving that history still hides treasures in plain sight. And the 1956 Lincoln cent, no mint mark, is one of the greatest reminders of all. That fortune can be hiding in the most ordinary places. That is, oh, how do you identify it? Start with the date, 1956. No mint mark beneath. Then look for signs of doubling on the numbers and letters. Inspect Lincoln's profile for ghost-like outlines. Examine the coin's color. The redder and brighter, the better. And remember, condition is everything. A scratched penny may be worth a few dollars. A flawless gem can bring hundreds of thousands. And the rarest of the rare? Over $1 million. So before you toss aside that old penny, stop and look again. Because this exact coin, a 1956 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looks ordinary, brown, worn. A 1967 Lincoln penny without a mint mark. The kind of coin most people wouldn't even glance at twice. And yet, hidden inside this tiny piece of copper is one of the greatest mysteries in American coin history. In 1967, the U.S. Mint was under incredible pressure. The country was still reeling from a nationwide coin shortage. The Mint had been stripping mint marks off coins since 1965 to discourage collectors from hoarding. Every penny, nickel, dime, and quarter struck during those years looked identical, or so it seemed. But in the chaos of rushed production, strange things began to slip through. Mistakes, variations, coins that should never have existed. On the surface, every penny struck in 1967 was supposed to be the same. No mint marks at all. Millions poured out of Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but without the tiny D or S to tell them apart. To collectors at the time, it meant nothing. Just more pocket change. But decades later, a handful of sharp-eyed treasure hunters started noticing something unusual. Some 1967 pennies didn't look like the rest. The strike was sharper. The details of Lincoln's hair and coat seemed unusually crisp. And the weight? Off by just a fraction. Dealers couldn't explain it. But rumors spread. Whispers of experimental planchets, trial strikes, or patterns that somehow escaped the mint's vaults and landed in circulation. One man in the Midwest claimed he found one in a cigar box of old change. He thought it was worthless, until a dealer offered him tens of thousands on the spot. Collectors were stunned. How could a common penny, struck in the tens of millions, suddenly command such a price? In a major auction, one of these mysterious 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cents sold for a jaw-dropping 6 figures. And the bidding didn't stop there. Prices climbed. Stories swirled. Some whispered that the coin was a patterned strike, meant only for mint archives. Others believed it was an ultra-rare die variety, slipped into circulation by accident. Whatever its true origin, one fact remained undeniable. It was no ordinary penny, and the most shocking sale of all. A pristine example, flawless surfaces, rich luster, razor-sharp strike, crossed the $1 million mark. Yes, a single penny, a coin most people would spend on a stick of gum, sold for over $1 million. Dealers are now hunting feverishly. Collectors are sifting through jars of change, desperate to uncover the next miracle. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and another collector's dusty dresser drawer produced a life-changing treasure. First, look at the date, 1967. No mint mark. That's essential. Next, examine the strike. Most pennies from that year look soft, almost flat in Lincoln's hair and coat. But the $1 million varieties? They're razor sharp. Every strand of hair looks carved. The letters are bold, crisp, and perfectly centered. Weight matters, too. Regular 1967 pennies weigh about 3.11 grams. But some of the rare ones, those struck on experimental or transitional planchets, weigh slightly less. Even a difference of 0.1 grams could mean you're holding a fortune. Then there's the surface. While most circulated pennies look dull or worn, the valuable ones shine with an unusual brilliance, as if the mint polished the dies just for these coins. Collectors call them proof-like. Dealers call them once-in-a-lifetime. And here's the danger. Fakes are everywhere. Some people polish ordinary pennies, hoping to trick buyers. Others alter the dates. But experts can always tell. That's why, if you suspect you've found one, never clean it, never scratch it, and never spend it. Get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. The difference between a common penny and a $1 million masterpiece comes down to authentication. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold. They thought it was a fluke. But as more surfaced, the truth became clear. The 1967 no mint mark penny is one of the most elusive, most mysterious, and most valuable coins in American history. Imagine it. A penny you've ignored for decades, sitting quietly in a drawer, suddenly changing your life forever. Imagine the moment you realize the smallest coin in your collection is worth more than your house. That's the power of this coin. That's why the entire numismatic world is obsessed so tonight. When you dump out your change, don't look away. Don't assume it's all worthless copper. Hold each 1967 penny to the light. Weigh it. Study it. Because one of them, just one, could be the key to your million-dollar miracle. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Picture this. It's 1968. The U.S. Mint is pushing out billions of Lincoln cents. Routine, ordinary, forgettable. But somewhere in the chaos, something went terribly wrong. A tiny, almost invisible mistake was made. And that mistake transformed one copper coin into $1 million miracle. For decades, these pennies circulated in pockets, purses, cash registers, gas stations. No one knew. No one imagined. To the naked eye, they looked like every other Lincoln cent. But then, one day, a collector spotted something strange. His 1968 penny didn't have the tiny S or D mint mark under the date. It looked blank, almost unfinished. That missing mark, just one microscopic detail, stunned the coin world, because in 1968, every single Lincoln penny was supposed to carry a mint mark. Philadelphia had stopped striking cents with no mark years earlier. It simply wasn't supposed to exist. And yet, there it was, a ghost coin, a rebel, a freak accident of history. Words spread like wildfire. Collectors couldn't believe it. Was it real? Could a mint error this bold have slipped through? Specialists examined it, weighed it, studied it. And the conclusion shocked even the experts. Yes, it was authentic. A genuine, no mint mark 1968 Lincoln cent. When the first example crossed the auction block, the bidding was ferocious. Dealers raised their paddles higher and higher, each desperate to seize the prize. And when the hammer finally fell, the price soared into the hundreds of thousands. Then, another surfaced, and another. The value only grew. Today, in pristine condition, a 1968 writ no mint mark Lincoln penny has been valued at over $1.6 million. Think about that. A coin most people would toss into a change jar could fund a retirement, pay off every debt, change a family's destiny forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Most people who held this coin never even knew it. They spent it on gum, on coffee, on gas, never realizing they were handing away a fortune. That's why dealers are still searching. That's why collectors comb through rolls of pennies, hoping lightning will strike. Because not every 1968 penny is valuable. The vast majority will carry an S mint mark for San Francisco or a D for Denver. Those are common. Those are ordinary, worth a cent, maybe two. But the rare ones, the life-changing ones, will show only the date. 1968, no mint mark. Clean, empty, almost haunting in its simplicity, and condition matters. A worn example could bring thousands, but a pristine, uncirculated survivor? That's where the $1 million price tag comes in. Look for sharp details on Lincoln's portrait, crisp edges on the lettering, a smooth, unblemished field. Any scratch, any discoloration can slash the value in half. Collectors were shocked when one example turned up in a bankroll. Another came out of a dusty cigar box in someone's attic. Stories like these fuel the hunt, keeping hearts racing and eyes glued to every cent. Because at any moment, that miracle penny could appear. Imagine finding it yourself. You open a jar of change, spill the pennies across the table, and suddenly, one coin catches your eye. No mint mark. Just 1968, gleaming back at you. Your pulse quickens. You check again. No S. No D. Just silence where the mark should be. And then it hits you. You're holding a piece of history worth more than a mansion. And here's the cliffhanger that every collector lives for. How many of these are still out there? No one knows. Some experts believe only a handful exist. Others whisper about dozens, maybe hidden in old collections, in dusty drawers, in forgotten piggy banks across America. The mystery only adds to the value. This tiny detail, the absence of a mint mark, is why it's worth millions. And most people miss it. They don't look close enough. They don't believe a penny could carry such a secret. But the truth is, this exact coin has already changed lives. And it could change yours too. So here's what you must remember. 1968. Lincoln cent. No mint mark. Every other detail looks normal. Lincoln facing right. In God we trust above his head. Liberty to his left. The date, clear and strong, 1968. And beneath it, nothing. No D. No S. Just the rarest silence in American coinage. Don't dismiss the pennies in your pocket. Don't ignore the ones rattling around in the cup holder of your car. Because in that ordinary pile of copper and zinc, one extraordinary treasure could be waiting. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A 1944 Lincoln cent. No mint mark. The kind of coin you've probably handled thousands of times without a second thought. But beneath its simple face is a mystery that has left collectors stunned for decades. The year was 1944. America was at war. Copper was desperately needed for bullets, shell casings, and wire. The U.S. Mint had just switched to steel pennies in 1943 to save metal for the fight overseas. But when production shifted back to copper in 1944, something went terribly wrong. A handful of pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, leftover steel blanks from the year before. Imagine that. A simple mistake, a forgotten sliver of history, suddenly creating one of the most valuable coins in existence. But the story doesn't stop there. One of these rare 1944 pennies, missing its mint mark, turned up decades later in an old collection. The dealer who spotted it could hardly believe his eyes. He knew instantly what he was holding, and he also knew it might change his life forever. Collectors whispered about it for years. Some swore it didn't exist. Others claimed to have seen one tucked away in a cigar box or hidden in a roll of pennies at the bank. But when it finally crossed the auction block, the room fell silent. What happened next stunned everyone. Bids soared higher and higher. A penny, a single cent, climbing into the hundreds of thousands. Seasoned dealers shook their heads in disbelief. Ordinary collectors held their breath, imagining that maybe, just maybe, they too had one of these in their drawers at home. And then the hammer dropped. Over $1 million. For a coin that could have been tossed away as spare change. Why is it worth so much? It comes down to one tiny detail. The absence of a mint mark under the date. Most 1944 steel cents came from Philadelphia. No little D for Denver, no S for San Francisco. Just a clean, simple date, 1944. That's the secret that has turned the coin world upside down. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. Many people confuse these rarities with ordinary copper pennies from 1944, which are common. Others mistake dirty copper coins for steel, or vice versa. That's why so many of these million-dollar coins are overlooked, sitting unnoticed in jars, passed down in estates, or left to gather dust in an attic. Dealers are on the hunt. Collectors are digging through rolls. Every year, new stories emerge of someone stumbling across one. In change from a grocery store, in a collection inherited from a grandparent, in the most ordinary of places. And yet, most people miss the detail that matters most. A magnet. That's the test. The 1944 no mint mark steel cent will cling to it. Copper will not. That single test can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a miracle worth over $1 million. Think about it. How many pennies have you let slip through your fingers? How many times have you dropped one on the counter without looking twice? The coin that could rewrite your life story might already have passed through your hands. One man found his in a jar of old change while cleaning out his father's desk. Another pulled one from a bank-wrapped roll. These are not museum pieces locked away forever. They are out there, hiding, waiting. And here's the lesson every serious collector knows. You must look carefully. Don't just glance at the date. Hold a magnet to it. Feel its weight. Study its color. A 1944 no mint mark steel cent is lighter, grayer, colder to the touch than copper. It stands apart if you know how to see it. The $1 million miracle is not in the design. It's in the mistake. A tiny slip at the mint during the chaos of war has left us with one of the greatest treasures of American coinage. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you open that old box of pennies in the attic, when you pour out that dusty jar of coins you've been meaning to roll up and take to the bank, stop. Look. Test. Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary might be hiding in your hands. And remember this, The 1944 no-mint mark steel penny is not just a coin. It's a story, a piece of history, a symbol of luck, timing, and the power of paying attention. Collectors were shocked. Dealers raced to get their hands on it. And one ordinary man became a legend because his pocket change turned into a fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.